Western culture if they had the HER2 alteration. And if they didn't have the HER2 alteration, the antibodies had absolutely no effect on them. So now we had something that was more even than a smoking gun.
Vasta-aineista lupaavin sai nimekseen Herceptin. Sleiman tahtoi kokeilla sitä potilaisiin, joiden syöpä oli HER2-positiivinen. Genentechin johto kuitenkin epäröi.
At the time, we were a small company. Resources were extremely precious, and there were certain people that thought this was just nonsensical, even after that proof of concept was demonstrated, and other people thought that this could be the future of cancer therapy.
And it was that core of scientists who kept the project alive, who really believed that the data meant something. I would go up a lot and try to lobby the non-believers that this was something that was real. In fact, I sort of got a moniker within Genentech, and I was being called Dennis the Menace.
Sleiman pysäytti yhtiön johtajia käytävillä ja tivasi heiltä rahoitusta pienimuotoiseen kliiniseen kokeeseen. Lopulta yhtiö myöntyi. Sleiman alkoi välittömästi värvätä pitkälle edennyttä rintasyöpää sairastavia naisia. Barbara Bradfieldin näytteet saapuivat hänelle juuri parahiksi.
We tested her tumor, and it turned out to be one of the most positive we'd seen. She probably would not have survived more than 3 or 4 months.
Koe alkoi lokakuussa 1992. Siihen osallistui 15 naista, jotka kaikki olivat kokeilleet jokaista tunnettua hoitomuotoa, mutta tuloksetta.
They were as much a part of the story, and in fact colleagues, as anybody who was involved in the science. We were excited about the science coming from the laboratory. They had a bigger dog in this fight.
It's a very peculiarly intimate setting. They actually get to know each other's stories. This is a young woman who's undergone a very tough bone marrow transplant. There's a Chinese woman who's brought in a stash of herbs. She says, I'll take the latest drug if you let me take the oldest drugs.
We had one gal that came all the way from Boston. Her name was Bev, and she was a lot of fun, very raucous. She brought this lovely cake that had breasts on it, and it said, "Breast wishes Dr. Sleiman." My tumor in my neck was the touchstone of the study because from the very beginning, it was the only tumor that could be felt. And so you could see it. It was right here. And so every week, everybody would come in and feel it. Well, within the first 2 weeks, it got smaller. And so that was the most exciting thing. Everybody would come in and feel it and go, if yours is getting smaller, that means mine is too.
Osa naisista hoito ei kuitenkaan auttanut. He keskeyttivät kokeilun yksi kerrallaan voimiensa ehtyessä. Kokeen puolivälissä jäljellä oli enää 5 potilasta. Heistä yksi oli Barbara Bradfield.
It's like a sisterhood of hopefuls. Everyone's watching everyone else, and there's a desperation, and yet only some people are responding and some people are not.
Sleimanin odottaessa malttamattomana kokeensa tulosta muut tutkijat kohdistivat huomionsa toisiin syöpägeeneihin. Heidän joukossaan oli Dana-Farber-instituutista tutkimuslaboratorioon Oregoniin siirtynyt Brian Drucker.
When I was doing my oncology training, learning how to take care of cancer patients, it was like they had put me into a room with a light bulb that was stuck on and gave me a baseball bat. And they said to me, knock out that light bulb, and here's your baseball bat. And if that doesn't work, we're going to use a bigger bat, high-dose chemotherapy. And I said, why don't we figure out why the light's stuck on and fix it that way?
Druckeria kiinnosti harvinainen verisyöpä, krooninen myeloinen leukemia eli KML. Vuonna 1973 Chicagon yliopiston tutkija Janet Rowley oli tunnistanut KML-syöpäsoluissa poikkeaman. 2 kromosomin päät olivat vaihtaneet paikkaa. Mutaatio aiheutti solujen liiallisen tuotannon.
I was in medical school in the late 70s. We knew about Janet Rowley's pioneering work identifying exchange of material between the ends of 2 chromosomes. But it wasn't until I actually got back in the laboratory that we really could understand what the consequences of that swath of chromosome material was. and it actually was an oncogene that caused the unrestrained growth of white blood cells in this leukemia called chronic myeloid leukemia.
Sveitsiläisessä Sipakaikissa, josta myöhemmin tuli osa Novartista, kemistit tutkivat joukkoa lääkeaineita, jotka voisivat tehota kroonista myeloista leukemiaa aiheuttavaan geeniin. Saatuaan tietää asiasta, Rooker ja hänen kollegansa Charles Sawyers anoivat yhtiöltä lupaa kokeilla kyseisiä yhdisteitä laboratoriossaan.
This was not a project that had a timeline and a plan when it was first hatched. Neither one of us expected the drug to really work at the level that it ended up working.
There was this one compound that stood head and shoulders above the others at killing leukemia cells and not harming normal cells.
Imatinibiksi nimetty yhdiste sai myöhemmin kauppanimen Glivec. Ensin soluviljelmässä, sitten hiirillä aine näytti hävittävän KML-solut jäljettömiin.
Now we had a lot more experiments to do, but it was really exciting to actually see a compound that was doing what I had hoped a compound could do. That was almost too good to be true.
Brian and I took it upon ourselves to convince Novartis that this drug had to be tested in patients.
That was 2 or 3 years hammering at getting this drug into clinical trials, and it was an uphill battle. I had something that might be able to work for them. It needed to get it tried. If it doesn't work, fine, I'll go away, you'll never hear from me again, but give it a chance.
Rooker ja Sleiman edustivat uutta tutkijapolvea, joka perään antamattomuudellaan kaatoi raja-aidan tutkimuksen ja hoidon välillä.
Being involved in those early studies, it showed us that you could take this really basic science research and translate it from the lab into the clinic, and take clinical questions and bring it into the lab and get answers was really the whole promise of this new approach.
Keväällä 1993 rintasyöpälääke Herceptinin alustavat kokeet olivat ohi. Sleiman valmistautui kertomaan Barbara Bradfieldille tulokset.
The door suddenly flew open and he and his assistant came walking in with the biggest grins on their faces and said, "There is no more cancer." My husband and I looked at each other and we said, there's no more cancer. And Dennis said, "Come on, I'll take you down to radiology and you can look at the slides." So we went down and we looked at the screens and he pointed out, here's the 16 tumors in your lungs. Now look over here, not there. We didn't quite know what to do with that information, and neither did Dr. Slayman. He said, this is new ground for us. We don't know if your cancer will be back in 3 months. We don't know if it's really cured. Just go home and enjoy life.
Tapaus oli historiallinen. Syöpägeeni oli tunnistettu ja siihen oli onnistuttu kehittämään täsmälääke. Kyseessä oli kuitenkin vasta suppea ensimmäisen vaiheen kliininen koe. Lääkeainetta olisi kokeiltava vielä monilla potilailla ennen kuin sen tehosta ja turvallisuudesta voitaisiin olla varmoja.
Of course, you always worry, is this sort of the one-off example, and it won't be repeated when you go to larger phase 2 trials.
Sleimanin valmistautuessa seuraavaan tutkimukseen tieto menestyksestä tihkui julkisuuteen.
Doctors are calling it a breakthrough.
A promising but still unproven drug.
A drug that could mean a stay for some women facing a possible death sentence.
Genenteciin alkoi tulvia lääkettä peräävien naisten puheluja ja kirjeitä.
This was absolutely a valid question, which is, look, we're dying out here. This is a serious illness, and you have a medicine that could help me.
The drug raises hopes for the future, but helps only a handful of the women who need it now.
Kokeiden ollessa kesken yhtiö kieltäytyi toimittamasta lääkettä.
The company wanted to focus on the clinical trials, and they wanted patients to enroll in the trials, not to get the drug outside of the trials.
If you don't carry out that very careful clinical process, you can't look back at the end and say with any confidence that I know this drug works.
It's a terrible reality that medicine, which is the most human of all the sciences, is caught performing the least human of all experiments, which is to deny patients medicines, even when they seem to be successful in small trials. But it's the reality, and that is that there has been so many false leads that doing something too early is always a formula for disaster.
Kiista kärjistyi, kun nuoren gynekologin Martin Nelsonin rintasyöpä uusiutui. Nelson haki toistuvasti mukaan Herceptin kokeiluun, mutta pyynnöt evättiin.
We kept getting the runaround, getting one person blaming another. Time was going on, she was getting sicker and sicker. But we continued to ask for the drug, and then Marty died without her ever getting an answer.
Nelsonin kuolema sähköisti tunnelman. 10 aktivistit piirittivät Genentechin tutkimustilat vuonna 1994.
They decide that as part of their protest, they're going to hold a funeral procession for Marty Nelson.
It absolutely took Genentech by surprise. If they didn't know who we were before and what the breadth of our willingness to engage in this issue was, they certainly knew it after that.
Radikaali mastektomia ja suuriannoksinen lääkehoito olivat herättäneet ankaraakin arvostelua, mutta tällä kertaa tunteet kuohuivat yli.
For the first time, you had a company that was engaged in cancer research, having to deal with people chaining themselves to cars in the parking lot and demanding access and being in front of the nightly news. That just had not happened in cancer.
Ratkaistakseen kiistan Genentech suostui neuvotteluihin aktivistien kanssa vuonna 1995. Tuloksena oli kompromissi. Yhtiö sitoutui toimittamaan pieniä määriä lääkettä kokeiden ulkopuolisille potilaille. Saajat valittaisiin arpomalla. Ratkaisu ei ollut täydellinen, mutta mielenosoitukset laantuivat. Tutkimus valmistui lopulta vuonna 1997. Genentechin johtoon kuulunut Susan Desmond-Hellman sai tietää tulokset ensimmäisten joukossa.
I hung up the phone and literally ran as fast as I could down the hill to the building where Art's office was. Ran up the stairs, ran in his office, closed the door, and I got on the board. He had a whiteboard in his office, and I drew the survival curve of the patients in the trial and showed him the data that patients had lived longer.
Herceptiiniä saaneet potilaat olivat eläneet puolta pidempään kuin lumelääkettä saaneet, ja sivuvaikutuksia oli esiintynyt tuskin lainkaan. Tulos oli syöpätutkimuksessa merkittävimpiä kautta aikojen.
What gets you through the work is the data. We talk about how do you fight what may be an uphill battle or look like an uphill battle. And it's just an unflagging belief in the data. And I think you have to be your own worst critic. But if the data keeps coming back telling you this is real, this is right, this is the way to go, then you have to believe it.
The next year we did tests again and my cancer was still all gone. And it's never come back. Cancer's a funny thing because once you have it, it sits like a little monkey on your shoulder. It never goes away. It's been 20 years and it's still part of my psyche, and it changes who you are. It's a little element of fear that never goes away.